It is Thursday, December the 29th, just another night of opportunity in the NBA. We hit a small bump in the road on Tuesday as we only cashed on one of our three bets, but back up on the horse, three more games for tonight. Hopefully it'll be a clean sweep. Let's get right to them, starting in Charlotte, where the Hornets host the Miami Heat. Charlotte, a 6-point favorite at BetSafe, 200.5 the total in this game. Now these teams met way back in the second game of the season. That was in Miami. The Hornets escaping with a 97-91 victory. But at that point, we really didn't know what either one of these teams was going to look like this year. We have a pretty good idea now, however. The Hornets look like a playoff team at 18-14. The Heat, meanwhile, at 10-22, among the NBA's worst teams. Miami really in a bad spot right now. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. Goran Dragic, their starting point guard, and along with Hassan Whiteside, one of their best players, he is questionable for tonight with back spasms. He missed the Heat's last game and has not been practicing. He did travel with the team to Charlotte, but he has not been practicing. Josh McRoberts, who had started 14 consecutive games at small forward, he is now out indefinitely with a stretch fracture in his foot. They're still missing Dion Waiters, so the Heat really banged up. They've lost a lot of games lately, as we said, 5 of 6. Their main problem is putting the ball in the basket. 28th in the NBA in points scored, 26th in field goal percentage. They are just a mess on the offensive end. And without a guy like Josh McRoberts, who's a good facilitator, maybe without Goran Dragic, and facing a good defensive team in the Charlotte Hornets, this is a really tough spot for the Heat. We mentioned they've had trouble scoring. Charlotte has had no trouble lately. The Hornets averaging 113 points per game in their last 5 contests. Now, they won 4 of those 5 games, but they did suffer a troubling loss on Monday in Brooklyn. The Nets, a bad team. The Hornets had a 14-point second-half lead, but Nets were able to win it on a last-second Randy Foye three-pointer. But you know what? I think that loss could serve as sort of a wake-up call. And indeed, in the Hornets' next game, which was last night, they went into Orlando and beat the Magic 120-101. Very impressive performance. Now, that was last night, so this will be the second night of a back-to-back for Charlotte. But they're clearly the better team here. The Heat, as we said, really banged up right now. This game in Charlotte, the Hornets should win this game easily, and I think they will, and cover that 6-point number. Moving on now to Utah, where the Jazz host the Philadelphia 76ers. Utah, a 13-point favorite at BetSafe, 196 the total here. Folks, this is a total mismatch. The Jazz, 19-13. They've been good this year, though they have been struggling a bit lately. They had lost 3 straight games before squeaking one out over the Lakers a couple of nights ago. But look, they're facing the Philadelphia 76ers here, who are 7-23 on the year, 2-9 on the road, and the Sixers will be without Joel Embiid tonight, who leads them in points, rebounds, and blocks. Embiid has clearly been their best player this year, and again, he will be resting tonight. They'll also be without starting 2-guard Gerald Henderson. So a Philadelphia team that has only won twice on the road all season, that ranks 26th in points scored, 21st in points allowed. They'll be without their best player and their starting 2-guard. Again, on the road in Utah, facing a Jazz team that is the best defensive team in the NBA. The Jazz lead the league in points allowed at just 95.3 points per game, and they are second in opponent field goal percentage. And potentially really good news for Utah here. George Hill, their starting point guard, who has missed 13 games this season, might be back tonight. He has been practicing with the team since Monday. As of the time of this recording, George Hill is expected to play. As we said, that would be really good news for a Utah team that has hit a little bit of a rough patch here over these past 3 or 4 games. But a home game against the Philadelphia 76ers is the perfect opportunity to break out, and I believe that Utah will break out in a big way. I know 13 is a big number, but I like the Jazz to cover this number. Utah, my recommendation there. Final game I'm involved in on this Thursday, December the 29th. What about the Dallas Mavericks going on the road to face the LA Lakers? Lakers, a 2.5-point favorite at BetSafe, 203 the total here. Now, look, both of these teams among the Western Conference's worst. The Mavericks just 9-23 on the year. That is the worst record in the West. The Lakers not much better at 12-23. You know, the Lakers started the season 10-10, but since then, they just cannot win. I mean, they've lost 13 of their last 15 games. They seem to not even try on the defensive end. 27th in the NBA in points allowed and 30th, dead last in opponents' field goal percentage. The Lakers allowed the opposition to shoot 47.3%. That is really bad. 47.8%. It's even worse than I thought initially. Now the Mavs, as we mentioned, 9-23, but they're actually playing their best basketball of the year right now. Now, when you're talking about a team that's just 9-23, saying they're playing their best basketball, 3-3 in their last 6 games. That does qualify as their best stretch of the season. And Dirk Nowitzki finally back in the lineup now. He's been back for a week, and the Mavs won their first game when Dirk came back, their best win of the season on the road against the LA Clippers. The Mavs, unlike the Lakers, at least they try on the defensive end. We mentioned the Lakers last in the NFL in opponents' field goal percentage, 27th in points allowed. Well, look, the Mavs might be short on talent this season, but they're long on effort, as you'd expect from Rick Carlisle team. They're 6th in the NBA in points allowed. We mentioned 3-3 in their last 6 games. 2 of those wins have come on the road. So the Mavs slightly on the upswing right now. And the Lakers, a really young team that doesn't play defense. They've lost 13 of 15. I think the Mavs, a good bet here as a 2.5-point road underdog. There you have it, folks. Those are my recommendations for tonight. I like Charlotte, -6 at home against the Miami Heat. I like the Utah Jazz to cover 13 against the Philadelphia 76ers. And I like the Dallas Mavericks as a 2.5-point road underdog against the Los Angeles Lakers. Folks, I wish you best of luck no matter what you decide to do tonight, just so long as your interests don't conflict with my interests. Enjoy the games.